Mic check, hello, hello. Mic 1 2, mic 1 2. Mic check, mic check. I think we should be good. Let me make sure we're at the right levels here. I think we were dropping frames a little at the start. It doesn't show any on my end. It might have just been on Twitch's end there. Oh, let me go ahead and just real quick, 1 second. All right, gonna get started here. If you haven't, go check out the new Bucktail Deceiver video, which is out on YouTube right now. What is going on? I appreciate everyone tuning in. Let's go ahead and shut that off. Just start putting together a little epidemic playlist. Epidemic sound. Okay. Well, I've been working on some deceivers and things like that, but I do need to tie some rooster fish flies for some local guys that are heading down to Baja. So I figured it's a good time to probably do a test run here and tie a couple of these guide flies, if you will. They sent me some photos. I'll see if I could show you the photo here. I hope everybody's doing well. How's everybody doing, by the way? Let's see. How can I'll just show you on my phone, but I'll do it in a way that... It's apparently a guide. I could show you the flies here. So we need to try and tie something like this right here. Essentially like kinky muddlers, but with like larger EP heads, if you will, slightly, and pretty much no flash. So that's what we're going to be just like kind of refining our EP kinky muddlers a little bit with a larger profile, some longer material. We do need larger hooks and all that as well. So let me go ahead and get some hooks set up here. I don't have the appropriate Gamakatsu hooks. Oop. Hold on. We good? We good? Oh, is it my, that's what it was, my headset. Mic check, mic check. I gotta get a new headset adapter. We're gonna grab, I don't have the correct Gamakatsu SL12Ss in the 4 odds that I want to tie these. I have a couple 2 odds that I'm saving for, what do you call it, for the order. But we'll find an appropriate larger size hook like this big game hook that we can do a test on just to kind of get our senses here. Got to open that window even though it's freezing outside. My room's so hot. All right, let me see here. You know what? I do have some Mustad big game hooks, which are pretty similar. So this could give us kind of a good idea. It doesn't have to be the exact size. It's pretty much the same size as the 2-odd Gamakatsus. Now, I'd be tying this on like a 4-odd, but we could scale it down slightly. I'm just trying to get the right profile shape and how much material I should be tying on here. Okay. So, God, the stupid headphones. All right, there we go. It's like, I'm using headphones that I had since, like, I was in high school. These, like, crappy little headphones that I just plugged into my mixer. All right, so, man, I need to get a new mic stand, but that's okay. Let me see if I can move this without it making too much noise. Hold on. Without it going like, whoosh, whoosh. There we go. So I have some of these Mustad 2 odds here. And I'm going to just put that right in there. And you know what I'm going to do? I mean, I got to leave it on manual focus. Otherwise, it's just going to go out of touch. So I got to just try and keep the vise where it is. I'll just go ahead and get some thread on here. Let me see, should I pop that down a level? There you go. Yeah, the new Pamit Special video seems to be doing well. And the new Bucktail Deceiver video just came out today, so we'll see how that one does. I think the videography came out pretty good. I've started pretty much making the background very dark and just having the light on the fly. I probably need to invest in maybe like one more light, so I have 2 lights set up on the vise. But it was a little darker than I wanted. I'm like tweaking camera settings. I think in the articulated cinderworm fly that's coming out on Sunday, I've like figured it out, so to say. But because you got to make sure you can see the darker materials as well. But we're getting there. I'm starting to refine the camera settings and all that. Okay. So this fly is essentially just like the kinky muddler that we've been tying, but instead of trimming the head down more, we're going to be V-tying the material into a Lawner style, essentially. We are, if you think of the classic EP baitfish flies, it's going to be like that sort of style. Let's go ahead and put this on here. I'm going to go right around the hook point. And now I'm going to be using this cheap Chinese saddle hackle for these tests here. But, of course, I'm probably going to be using some better hackle, we'll see. Or at least I'm getting some new patches of Chinese saddle hackle so I can use, nicer, kind of more slender hackle. But I don't want to use up all my good hackle because I have a bunch of orders I'm doing. So I'm going to go ahead and use these, which I'm going to be honest with you, I'm sure the Rooster fish probably don't care. Something like this is actually kind of perfect. So for a 2-aught like this, for a 4-aught, it'd probably be somewhere around like here, probably like 5.5 inches. My tape measure is up on the table. I'm going to say we'll probably go for like 4 inches, maybe 4.25 with a 2-aught. Kind of something like this. I'm going to try and tent this hackle slightly. Try and grab some of the thinner ones I have. So we'll go ahead kind of like this here. Do I like that one? Let's see. I'll grab one of these skinnier ones. How about that? Man, it's so windy out right now. It's crazy. That one's a little short. I kind of just took a bunch of random hackle I have here, so I just got to grab one and use it. Let's go ahead with this. Doesn't matter. Just kind of figure out the proportions. I'll be using a little bit better quality hackle when I tie these. I'm sure if I lived down there and was like rooster fishing, like it looked like the guide was just using like regular, decent quality Chinese saddle hackle, so I'm sure it's fine. But ideally we have some that are a little bit more slender and Lawner. Let's see here. I kind of like something like this. I could get the pack actually. Let me see here. This is like all my old Chinese saddle hackle here. I have a giant bag of it. You could see this is like, a lot of times this is like the reject stuff. I buy the big bulk packs from saltwaterflies.com, and over the years you just end up with a lot of the feathers just have imperfections and all that. So I'm going to go through here. We're going to use this. Oh man. Athanasio? Oh man, I want to pronounce your name perfectly on the first try so bad, but I didn't. I'm sorry about that. Love the name, by the way, too, even though I'm not pronouncing it right. I watch your videos all the time. Very helpful. Well, thank you for that. Appreciate that. We have a bunch more videos coming out. The Bucktail Deceiver just came out today. I have the articulated cinderworm video coming out Sunday, the raised fly coming out Sunday, and I have the rest of February's videos uploaded. I'm slowly releasing them, so I got to work on March's videos next. But thank you so much. I appreciate it. Set it properly. All right. Well, don't. I'm not gonna try again because I'll probably screw it up. Then I got it once. I love saddle hackle. It's way more affordable than the high quality feathers. Yeah. Now I love the high quality stuff, but unfortunately, everything's so expensive nowadays. Even the fly tying materials. A lot of those high quality saddle hackle, it takes a while to raise a rooster with feathers like that, and then to get them to where the feathers are still high quality, And now with like bird flu going on and stuff, I'm sure feather pricing might go up if it affects the fly tying industry. So, oh, thank you, Brew. How you doing, Brew? I saw that rod you were putting together. Looks great. Enjoying the YouTube vibs. Very well put together, dude. Keep it up. Looking forward to seeing the channel grow. Thank you, Doc. I appreciate it, my friend. For all you YouTube members and Twitch subs, on it'll be the last video of the month. I put a little thank you to all my Twitch subs and YouTube members, and I have you guys like scrolling down on the video. So we're because really, also thanking the everyone who just watches the videos as well, because it definitely helps the channel. But so it's a little bonus for you folks that have been supporting the channel for years. So a little thank you, if you will. So I'm going to put a little flash in here. I'm just throwing some crystal. I'll probably throw a little flash boo on top as well, or even just leave it with some crystal flash like this is probably good. From what I've heard is that you don't want to put too much flash on the fly with rooster fish flies. Hey, Rev. Let's get some round of applause for Rev, everybody. Thank you for the 9 months with the membership, my friend. Appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. We're playing. We played Warhammer yesterday. He destroyed me, and then we're playing tomorrow. I like tying a fly. It takes like 10 to 15 minutes. Oh yeah, the beast flies are so cool, but it's labor intensive. It's extremely labor intensive. Yeah, I don't tie too many flies, like particularly on like my YouTube channel, that are extremely labor intensive. You know what I mean? Usually, most of the flies that that we have like videos on, you could tie easily in about like 15 to 20 minutes max. Maybe some flies 30 minutes if it's something a little bit more complicated, like a articulated articulated cinderworm fly or something. But a lot of times simple is easy, or simple is best. Like if you look at the raise fly that's coming out on Monday, I mean that's just literally a couple pieces of bucktail and some flash, and that's it. You know what I mean? All right, I'm going to throw a little head cement on here. Actually, no, we need to add a little color. Now, we're going to be tying some tan on here. Let me go ahead. Unfortunately, I don't know if I have tan EP. I'll have to take a look. I might have some. But I'm going to tie some tan saddle hackle, just 1 or 2 thin pieces. On here just to get a little bit of color. So it'll be like 4 pieces of hackle. Normally I'm using, like I said, if I'm for the orders, I'm tying some thinner hackle on here, a little bit pricier. But look, I mean, something like this works perfectly fine, Nothing wrong with some Chinese saddle hackle. Oh, yes, I will be there tying. I'm not a featured tyer, meaning I'm not going to be giving a presentation because I'm already busy enough with YouTube and all that. And right now, everybody's placing orders, so we have all the fly shops are getting in contact and all that. I got, people going down on trips, this and that. But yeah, I'll be there just as one of the at one of the tying booths. I'm not going to have like a full commercial booth. I'm just handing out tying, so make sure to stop by. Sounds good. I'll look forward to it. That's a little cheat code right there, is if you usually bring, if you have kids with you, you usually get a free fly. Because that was one of the fun things of going to shows as a kid that liked fly fishing, is I would always get a bunch of little flies and stuff from people. Be like, here you go. All right, we're going to take a little bit of tan here and just tie this on. I'm like slightly tenting it, but essentially it's just tied flat It's a little bit harder to do at times with this Chinese saddle hackle because it's softer, but if you can get a little bit of angle to it, like that, because from underneath, you'll see it'll kind of be like this, as opposed to being flat, you know? So now we'll go ahead and tie some bucktail collars on here because we want to stop this material from fouling. If we use just EP fiber, you can do it, but I like having a transition with some bucktail here, kind of tapered about 2/3 of the way. And then in front of that, we're going to start V-tying EP fiber, leaving it pretty long comparably to what I would do with the kinky muddler, and then trimming it. So it's going to have, if you think about it, it's going to have more of a EP baitfish head to it than the more traditional cone style, trimmed down, kinky muddler style head. So let's see, what do I need here? We need some longer bucktail than the one I have. Oh, I moved everything in my room, so I got to actually get up now, unfortunately, to get a lot of stuff. All right. Little bucktail. I need some tan as well. That'll work. And where's my EP fiber that I have somewhere? It's over here. Oh, I have some tan. Okay. You can see here a little goodie bag of one of the upcoming flies for Wednesday next week. Yeah, EP crab fly. So I'm going to need some white EP fiber we have here. We're not going to be blending flash, so we're good on that. And then I need some tan EP fiber, which I'm just going to pull out. I just have a bunch of, like, some of this EP fiber I probably had since I was a kid, honestly. Sometimes I just look and I just find stuff. I'm like, oh, look at this. I didn't even know I had that. Okay. I guess I have a giant bag that I must have bought like 10 years ago or something. The worst is that I'm like getting materials, and man, materials are so expensive nowadays, but getting materials, and I'm like, I'll go to the local fly shop and grab some stuff or whatever. And then I come back and I find a brand new pack of what I just bought, like buried underneath a bunch of feathers. I'm like, oh God, I just have so much material. I keep it pretty well organized. Unfortunately, it's just, I've accumulated so much over 20 plus years of fly tying now. So it just gets out of hand. All right. Let me also move a little bit of this stuff out of the way so it doesn't clutter up the screen. I would love to stream with how I film videos nowadays, but it's not very conducive to comfortable fly tying. It's more cinematic. So we're going to go ahead and put some head cement on here and just lock this down. Super glue, head cement, whatever. Hey, Paul. How's it going? How you doing? Appreciate you tuning in. Hope everyone's having a good Friday night here. Yeah, Sunday we have the articulated cinderworm video coming out. That and the raise fly are up early for members, just as a little bonus for supporting the channel. But I got all of February's videos done. They're fully edited and exported out. So I just need to work on some thumbnails and all that, but those will get released slowly for the end of the month. And we'll start working on March. If you ever have any suggestions on flies you want to see tied, or you need help with some patterns or something, you can always feel free to leave a suggestion on a video, in the Discord, whatever. Hit me up on Instagram. But it's not a guarantee, but that Pam at Special video was a recommendation by St. Croix. St. Croix Kid, I think, is the user on YouTube. And it came out very well. I was happy with that, so I'm always open to suggestions. So we're just going to tie in some white here on the belly. I lost a couple hairs, but that's all right. Using my thumbnail here. Your thumbnail is going to be one of your best tools in saltwater fly tying, especially with bucktail. So again, this is just going to support the hackle. Oh, good. I'm glad, Paul. That's what we're here for. Feel free to ask any questions as we go. This is what it's here for. It's literally just, you know, we're just hanging out, tying flies, and usually chatting about all sorts of different things. You know what I mean? If you have any questions or you want to spark a discussion about whether or not you like using sinking lines with poppers around rocks, I don't know, go for it. That's what we're here for. I'm just going to taper this. Quick little, you know, this doesn't really matter because we're not tying hollow flies. We're going to do a video on bucktails, selecting bucktails for certain flies, and then where to cut the material off bucktails for certain flies. That's going to be coming up at some point. I'm kind of like drafting the video idea together. So essentially, it doesn't really matter too much, but I'm cutting from the middle here. It's like semi-soft. It doesn't need to be perfect for something like this. But that's something that people ask a lot in particular is like, especially if we're tying anything larger like the new bucktail deceiver or the hollow fly. That'll definitely be a talking point in a hollow fly video when I do a bucktail hollow fly. But I'm definitely going to start doing some videos that aren't just tying a certain fly. You know, it's going to be discussing topics, a lot of stuff, particularly fishing for striped bass, but other species as well, or other just generic fly fishing topics. But perhaps when to use floating flies and, you know, or the benefit of using flies at certain times of the year, vice versa. Hey, there you St. Croix Kid. Yeah, thank you for the suggestion. That came out well. Just watch the bucktail deceiver. Nice, nice. Maybe a classic flatwing. Yes, I have the Razzle Dazzle on the docket. In fact, I could pull it up and tell you when is the Razzle Dazzle scheduled. Hold on. Can I? Oh, I don't want to show you all this stuff. Let's see. Razzle Dazzle is March 14th, ideally, on a Friday. So I also have the Ely, which is literally going to be... So the idea is Monday... You know, I'm trying to do 4 videos a week. It doesn't necessarily always mean there's going to be 4. But at least probably like 3 is very... You know, that's a comfortable amount for me. Mondays are going to be simple flies. So I have the Clouser scheduled. We've done the raise fly. Things like that. Very simple flies, slim deceivers that only take really like 2-3 minutes to tie. If that, like the raise fly could take you a minute and a half if you just have the bucktail there. So some of these flies are really simple. So I'm not making very detailed, it's just very quick videos. The Ely will be one of those videos where it's like just a couple pieces of flatwing tied hackle and then body braids spun up the hook shank. You know what I mean? Yeah, one of my most popular videos on the channel is the sand eel flatwing video that we have. So people love their flatwings. It's my preferred way of tying hackle and flies in general. You know what I mean? Okay. So we've got some bucktail in here now to help support this hackle. Have you ever tied the nighttime herring? No. I'm not familiar with that pattern. I fished herring flies at night. What's going on, Craggerall? How you doing? That bulkhead deceiver, that's another fly. We're probably going to... That'll be in the start of March. The bulkhead deceiver is an amazing fly. I can't wait to do the video on that one. I made a short that was 15 seconds long. That was just on my phone. I just posted it. And I was like, you can't beat natural materials. It got like 16,000 views in like a couple days. I was like, oh, geez, okay. I guess you can't be natural materials. All right. We're going to take some of this EP fiber here. Now, some of this stuff is pretty, it's pretty chalked up. It's been beat up. So I'm going to show you a little trick. It's always a good idea to have a fine wire dog brush. Joe Cordero's patterns. It's a color scheme, but I think it's a lawn flatwing pattern. Yeah, I'll take a look for sure. I know he's very big into flatwing fly tying. There's a lot of Ken Abrams patterns that I'd like to feature. That from my Striper Moon book, from my Ray Bondro. You know, a lot of them, I will say, are just changing colors, right? But there's nothing wrong, I guess, with making videos of different flies, you know, which are essentially like all flatwings, but tied in different color schemes for different times of day and all that, right? So we are going to be V-tying this, so this material needs to be, you think we're going to be tying it in the middle and folding it back. So something like that. I don't really want to cut all of this like that. Yeah, blending bucktail. He's an amazing, I think I'm thinking of the right person. He's an amazing flatwing fly tyer. Now, if you really want to get into Kenny Abrams flatwing stuff, we can start talking about whispers. You know what I mean? You want it, like, for bonus points in the chat, how many pieces of bucktail is a whisper? If you really want to get into the deep Kenny Abrams lore, we could start going in denominations of, or not denominations, in numbers of whispers. Post a photo from the book. Very cool. And post it in the Discord. And take a look after the stream. I got a big list here. I have pretty much videos into April figured out, at least of what I'm going to tie. So I just need to record them. All right. So that looks pretty good. Now we're going to take some tan here. Again, I'm going to brush this out. There's a little bit of flash in there. That's okay. We're just kind of trying to get a test here. D's Outdoors Adventures, how you doing? Appreciate you tuning in. So again, we're going to cut off a bunch at a similar length here. Something like this. That looks good. Put this stuff off to the side, and then we'll cut some smaller. It looks like I actually have some smaller stuff here, possibly. Yeah, because you're gonna reduce the size down, and you're also gonna be trimming the fly as well. But I haven't really been doing much gaming recently. But you know what I did do, because there are times where I, what do you call it, go downstairs and hang out for a little bit. I threw some batteries in my Game Boy Color, and I've started up a new playthrough on Pokemon Blue just for nostalgia's sake. It's been good, but what happens? Like, if you try to post a link or something like that, it'll stop you just for like safety's sake, so people don't post crazy links and all that. I don't know what Nightbot got you for, but. Out of curiosity, you always use the 210 denier. Do you prefer that over mono? I find the fine mono to bite well without too much bulk. Yeah, you know, like for instance, I probably wrapped a little too much here. That's about as much as I'd wrap. You see me a lot of times putting a lot of pressure down. I find I can put so much pressure on this. If you see, I'm actually kind of bending the hook a little bit here. I can put so much pressure with this thread. I don't need much thread wrap. Sometimes I end up with a little bit of bulk, but it's all about minimizing my thread wraps. You know what I mean? And so far, it's been very durable, this thread. It's also the easiest for me to control. I find that a lot of times I'm just so used to putting a lot of pressure that I end up breaking the mono thread. You know what I mean? If I'm trying to secure, for instance, if I'm tying hollow flies and things like that, I always prefer, or working with a lot of bucktail, I prefer the 210 denier, flat wax nylon. If I'm tying like surf candies and stuff like that with synthetics, a lot of times I'll use the mono. But personally, I just feel more comfortable with the flat wax nylon. Like ideally, I don't have any white. I'd be using white here. I'm just using what I have because we're just doing some tests essentially. But it's all really what you're comfortable with. You know what I mean? Whatever you prefer, really. Like back here, it doesn't really matter as much. When we get towards the front, I'm going to control like the amount of thread wraps that I'm using a little bit more. But Whatever, you know, you're kind of the most comfortable with, really. What we're going to do is we're going to move right up in front of here, and we're going to do our V-ties. And just a couple thread wraps to lock it down. We'll go ahead and do this again. And I'm leaving it pretty long here. I kind of want it to transition. You see how it's actually kind of a little bit shorter than the bucktail that we used in the collar. So now we're going to slowly reduce the length of the the length of the material. We are going to be trimming it, but ideally we might not even trim this tie that I'm putting in right now. Because if it's tapered and it's the correct length, we might just minimally need to do some trimming in this area. Because if you end up trimming your longest tie of EP, you might end up just trimming too much and you end up with like an area that's bare right before the bucktail or vice versa. It's nice to have that blending of that longer EP and the bucktail before we start doing our shorter EP ties. You know what I mean? No, it's up to you. I mean, look, the other reason why I like using the flat wax nylon, sometimes I tie flies, I don't even use head cement or super glue. And I have flies that have lasted for years because if you put a lot of pressure on here, this flat wax nylon, because it's wax as well, it like cinches down into itself, right? So you can use as much, like a lot of times every couple ties I'll start using like super glue or head cement. But do I find that you need to use like head cement or super glue at each tie? Personally, I don't do that. That would take forever, especially when tying hundreds of flies. You know what I mean? So I find it's good to do it at key points. I tie the tail, then I tie the bucktail. Okay, that's a good transition point. That's a good thread build-up point as well. I'm going to put my glue there, right? I'm going to do this tie, probably one more tie. I might just put a little super glue on there and keep going. You can do it. I mean, there's probably, as long as you're not putting too much glue on the body itself, I don't think it's overkill because it'll just be more durable. But it might just be like, is it necessary? I don't think so. You know what I mean? I don't think you could go wrong with it as long as you're not like dumping super glue and it's soaking into the material or vice versa, right? So we're going to go ahead and tie this essentially at the same length. I also want essentially the same amount of material. Now, the good thing about the CP fiber is you can trim it. Like I would never trim bucktail, right? If you tie too much bucktail in on your ties, you're kind of, that is what it is, right? You start trimming bucktail and it really has an unnatural appearance. With synthetic materials like the EP fiber, you can trim it. So if we do end up tying too much or something like that, you can go through and thin it out with scissors. It's funny though, I don't know if this is just like a visual thing. In general, I find because white maybe just sticks out so much more, I have a hard time, and I've been tying flies for years, thousands of flies per year. I have a hard time kind of gauging if I have enough material on top compared to the bottom because the white sticks out so much more at times. I don't know if it's like a visual thing with my eyes or it's just easier to maybe put more white bucktail in or something. I don't know if anyone has that issue, but I've been tying commercially for years now and doing all this stuff, and I still at times I'm like, do I have enough? Is there too much white on there? Because it just sticks out so much more, you know? If we put these up next to each other, that looks like a pretty similar amount. But now I'm thinking, I wonder if that's more white on the belly than on top. Then it's like something with my brain or something. It has a hard time gauging the... It's such a minute thing, though, you know what I mean? Yeah, I think I do need to add just a tiny bit more there. Again, you can always just trim it, right? But I'm just trying to tie this as best as I can to give you a good approximation here. Abrams is a tremendous tire. Yes, he's you know. So there's my top 3 fly tires. We got Bob Popovic's, Mark Sadati, and then Mr. Kenny Abrams. Those are my top 3 in terms of like people who kind of influence my particular fly tying style. Then there's honorable mention: Jack Guardside, Lou Tabery, David Skoke, all these amazing fly tires. Chris Windrum, you know. So now we're going to V-tie this back, and that's just where we fold the material back, and it creates like a V shape, essentially. I think that, I'm trying to think. So there's the cinderworm fly, the mush mouth. Because I just edited those 2 videos like right in a row. It was 2 videos, and I think I said V-tie. I don't know how many times, but there's a lot of V-ties going on in that crab video and the mush mouth. So, which spoilers, those are the if you're part of the Discord, or if you follow me on Instagram, you know what it is. We have the articulated cinderworm and the mushmouth fly that are coming out next week. Those will be the last videos for the month. I'm just going to brush this. I always like brushing it because now, look, it kind of just gives us a more even appearance and kind of just blends in much nicer, you know? Okay. I'm trying to stay hydrated here because my voice gets blown out so much earlier now. All right. Back when I used to stream like every day, or like multiple times a week for like 5 hours, all this stuff, you got to build your your vocal cords back up. I'm going to get another bunch of white here, and we don't want to tie too much. We are going to be trimming it, but it's a very fine line. This is the sort of fly where you just need to tie it, you know, and you need to try it out. We could put some head cement here. I'll do it on the next one. Like, you don't want to tie too much material, right? I guess you could always trim it, which is a plus to this material, but you find quickly that just having too much in general on the hook shank, just the fly won't sink properly, it won't turn over. So it's definitely the sort of thing where it's just trial and error of figuring out the amount of proportions for flies. You could always say like 1/8 of an inch pinch, or a pencil's width or something, you know. But I find it's best you just gotta kind of go, you know, try it out. What size head is on the Regal Big Game? This is I think it's the Big Game or whatever. I don't know. I think this is the Big Game Jaws, if I'm not wrong. I believe they have an even larger head now. But I don't know what is the actual size numerically for it. I just know it's their Big Game Jaws or whatever. I have the smaller one as well, the traditional. This is what comes with the vise. Which, by the way, look at the color difference because of how much I've tied over the years. I always love showing this off because it's just hilarious. The amount of wear off the powder coating from my hands. This is what it's supposed to look like. That beautiful purple, that Regal purple, but yeah, I don't know what the numerical size is. Like if they have a number or something. Or you mean what size hooks? About the smallest I can go is size 4, depending on the model. Other than that, they literally start exploding because they don't sit right, and the jaws are so strong that the hook will like implode. You better watch out. I don't think I've ever caught it on video, but you try and put like really small size for Gamakatsu, not the Big Games, but they have that other hook model that's much thinner. Yeah. No, the vise. Yeah, I'm not certain. Are you talking about? It's got its patent number down there. You could always take a look. But yeah, it's just their Big Game Jaws. I don't know what number it is. But we'll tie another tan EP tie here. Yeah, I believe they only have one Big Game Jaws, so if you just look up what that is, this should be the exact thing. I think they've made something even larger since then. I know they have like tube fly shank holders, which I should probably get one of those heads, honestly. They have all sorts of stuff now. Kind of on the original Revolution Big Game head. So that's actually a little long. I'm actually just to make it easier on myself, and this is the great thing about EP fiber, you can just break it down with your hands like this, look. You just grab it and just kind of, well, that time I didn't do a good job. Maybe best to grab a little less. You can just kind of thin it out with your hands if you need to. Make it a little easier than with the scissors. Don't be afraid to get rough with your flies, especially if it's synthetic. So I'm going to take this and make sure to pinch it on the side so we can cover up that gap and bring that white and that tan right next to each other. The monster jaw, yeah, that's the name of it. I haven't really felt the need. I mean, I will say there are, if you're tying 8-odd, 10-odd Gamakatsus, you do open this sucker up a little bit more. The 10-odds, I think I had to slip them on. Like, we're talking about hooks that are, like, about the thickness of this part of the bobbin. It's pretty large. I could still fit them in there by, like, slipping them in like that, coming in at an angle with the hook. But it's definitely, I could see if that's what you're tying all the time, you probably want those monster jaws or whatever. Put a little bit more head cement, which, by the way, Doc, putting that dubbing wax on the bottle cap, I haven't had a single issue once. So shout out to Doc for the idea. I've never realized that all my life. I used to like go through bottles of these all the time because they would get stuck and I'd break the cap. Like, it was impossible to not, you don't want to put too much on there, right? But just trying not to get it around the rim. So you use dubbing wax, even probably some sort of candle wax could work, whatever. And then I also have the thinner, which I've actually gone through quite a lot now. If you don't use it for a while or even just open it a lot, you're going to need to thin it down because it gets to the point where it's almost unusable. And then if you just pour a good amount of this stuff in there and shake it up pretty good, it just goes back to being regular head cement almost, So the thinner and the wax on the cap has been definitely saving me money. I haven't been having to buy it as much. Okay, so now we're going to start definitely reducing the length here a little bit more. Let's see if I can not get too much waste here. If I can just kind of fold this over, I can cheat code it. We'll end up with much less that ends up in the waste basket. So after you cut it like that, though, you always need to make sure you re-taper it. Just kind of randomly, so it doesn't look like it was just cut with scissors, And I kind of do want to leave myself enough material to where I can actually physically trim it, because that's essentially how this EP style head works. We're going for more like a traditional EP baitfish head here, so mixed with a essentially just like a deceiver or a bucktail deceiver tail. I will say this, a lot of flies really are just an amalgamation of like 5 flies, you know what I mean? If you think about it, but it is nice to be, you don't want to just call everything a something hybrid deceiver, essentially, right? All right. Let's go ahead and add a little bit more on top here. All right, we'll try to taper this again because we are shortening the length. Did anyone try and tie some kinky muddlers from the recent video? This is very similar sort of thing, the V-tying of the EP fiber. Yeah, the brush on the super glue unfortunately doesn't work like that. I kind of stopped using brush super glue, and now I just use bottles. Like I was using the Zap Gap for a long time. Now I'm using this Amazon super glue. That seems to work pretty good. Just add a little bit more, but go pretty short. Yeah, true. There's only so many ways to tie stuff to a hook. Yes, exactly. That's why I'm not really big on, like, I have the Mullet Marauder, which has Seno's laser dub head tied in with pretty much like a bucktail deceiver. You know what I mean? With some marabou in there at times and whatnot. Or just flatwing tied. So it's like a flatwing, a bucktail deceiver, and it's got a Senos laser dove head. You know what I mean? But I'm not really, you don't see me a lot of times like, whoa, check this out. You know, and it's like a dumbbell eyes with like a deceiver tail and a dubbing brush head. And I'm like, this is the McTwist 5000. You know, like, which is nothing wrong with that. I just prefer to be like, you know, that's what it is. It's a Whistler deceiver or something, yeah. I only have a couple flies that I've actually just named. Other than that, it's pretty much, you know, a lot of it's been done. And this is the story I love to tell because this was early days on the internet. I tied a fly called the deer hair deceiver. It had yellow hackle for the tail, crystal flash, and then bucktail collar, right? So it's kind of like a deceiver in the back. And then I spun deer hair and trimmed it. It was kind of like a snake fly, but it, you know, I was like, oh, cool. I came up with a fly, the deer hair deceiver. This is like 1999 or 2000. And there was something where there was not even a form. This was like pre-forms. It was a website where you could post a photo of your fly and with a name and how to tie it. And that was it. It was one of the first places you could post photos of your flies like on the internet. This is AOL dial-up connection days, right? And I'm like, cool, the deer hair deceiver. This guy writes me an email, and he says he wants to put it in a book. And I look it up. This guy had like 5 books on trout fishing, all of this stuff. I wish I remember the guy's name. I told him I'm a kid. He had to talk to my parents. He's like, what the hell? Your fly's amazing. Yeah, this, that. He was just really nice. And then, so he talked to my parents. He got our info, and like I sent him the fly. I don't know if the book ever went to publish, but I went and looked. It was going to be a book on the not the kinky muddler. It was going to be a book on the muddler minnow and how the muddler minnow has literally influenced like a huge majority of modern day fly tying, right? That was going to be what the book was about. And then I'm like looking in the recent Bend Back video, I have a book from Lefty Cray called like Saltwater Fly Patterns from like the early 90s or something like that. Like, and I think it was even older than that, like maybe 80s. And I'm scrolling through it and I'm looking, and there was like a striped bass flies. And what do I see? And I swear to God, it literally looked exactly like my fly. It had, because it wasn't even deer hair. It was like the backside of a white bucktail brown. And that's what I used for mine. This is what the guy looked like he used for his. It had the yellow hackle. It had the flash and everything, like to a T, like I tied. And it was called the deer hair deceiver. And at that moment, I said, I'm never going to be the guy that's like coming up with fly names all the time in flies, because there's probably a chance that some guy in 1970 probably tied the exact same fly and named it the exact same thing, and you'll find it in some Lefty Cray book 20 years from now or something. So, I mean, mind you, deer hair deceiver, it's not the biggest stretch, right? But it's just so funny. Like, even the Game Changer, there were flies, articulated flies. People used to make their own shanks, and they would make these, like, articulated type patterns for fly fishing way back in the day, you know? So, and that's not to discredit Blaine Chocolate. He's an amazing fly tyer. But what do you call it? It's just funny, you know, a lot of these flies are essentially rooted in, like, you know, flies that we don't even know about. A lot of people don't even know about, you know. So it's very interesting. But that was my little story about how my ambition for creating my own fly patterns was destroyed that day. I find the EP Heavy holds a lot more water than Steve Farrar fiber. I try to spare it as possible. It's like a sponge, yeah. Now, I will say that I'm tying this fly to match a fly that a guide ties down in Baja for rooster fish. The fly that caught all the biggest fish on the last trip for the owner of the fly rod company of Rise and all that. We're tying that for all these guys going down there. And so they sent me the photos that the guides tie. In fact, I think I have some here. I'll show you. Now, here we go. Beautiful, classic EP fly. I gave this to one of the guys. He fished it for striped bass. was slamming fish on it. They were testing it. They said this is what they want. Like the lawn hackle tented, this sort of thing. They were taking videos of it in the water. They loved it. And it's nice and trimmed down, right? It's not too large. If you look at the traditional EP flies that have the larger, like, sardina profiles, they come up a lot more. This is a kinky muddler with EP fiber, and I trimmed it down to be much more, less bulky and retain less water, right? Now, these are like guide flies. Look at the amount of EP fiber on here for the size of the hook. It's like too much. You know what I mean? But, I mean, you find a lot of times guides don't tie pretty flies. They just tie flies that work. You know what I mean? So this I would probably trim down a little more. I would taper it a little better. It might even just be beat up. But it's much more bulky in the amount of material. You know what I mean? This is going to get trimmed down, but it's like a smaller hook. And where's another one? Here's like a very simple kind of shoddily guide tied, like hollow. It's not even really hollow tied. It's just like kind of tied on there and like glued together haphazardly. And me personally, I would think this would foul like crazy. It looks like this feather already fouls a lot from the looks of it. You know what I mean? Like this, the way that this is kind of just all tied in at the front, essentially. So, but these are the stuff that guides down in Baja are throwing and they're catching fish on, you know? So, and now mind you, here's a commercially tied fly from like Umpqua or something like that they also brought down and fished, right? This is like some tied in like mass produced, tied in some other, country for like pennies or something. So there's a lot of different ways you can go about it, right? I get you. The EP fiber is, I like to tone it down. And I dropped all the flies. Damn it. That's all right. I like just dropped all the flies off there. Hey, Santy Sport Fish. Well, you know what? Look, as I always tell people this, these flies don't gotta look pretty. Like, those guides know what they're doing. You know what I mean? And it's not to say that they're not good flies, but they're not like, maybe you wouldn't put them on a magazine. But you'd be surprised. I work with a lot of guides, and a lot of times they don't get too picky a lot of times. They just want stuff that works. I am going to be trimming this down. I'm building this up to the size to kind of be like a traditional EP fly here, right? And we're going to trim it. So we're going to definitely be trimming this. The way the guide's tied, the one fly, I'll show you. Where's my phone? I'll show you the other photo. This is like the one that the guide tied, and it's much bulkier. It's like pretty much, it's barely even tapered. Hold on. But these guys know what they're doing, so I'm not going to question a guy who professionally guides for rooster fish, because I've never even seen one of those things in real life. I've tied a lot of rooster fish flies for customers, but I definitely don't want to undermine somebody who does it for a living, right? Let me screenshot this, and then I can, there we go. One sec, I'm going to show you guys the other, this is like the guide fly. So you can see, like, look at the amount of EP on there. That's kind of like the one that I just showed you. But the one I showed you was kind of beat up. But, I mean, that's, that's a pretty big, that's a good amount of EP on there. Maybe they want to push material. I was a little worried. I asked them, I'm like, how did these flies fish? Like, did they turn over water, You're the owner of Angling Baja. Very nice. Hell yeah. Well, your profile picture looks great. It looks like a bull mahi from what I can see, right? So how do you like your, do you do any fly guides and stuff like that? Any fly charters? How do you like your rooster flies? Do you like them bulky, or no, you like them more slimmed down so they're easier to pick up and cast? I mean, I'm assuming it's probably going to be blowing some days, right? You want the fly to turn over properly. I was really surprised. Like, I mean, if we kind of like didn't trim this, that would kind of be somewhat similar to how that fly. We'd probably just, I think the way they did it is they skipped those transitional taper collars that I'm doing because I'm trimming this, and they just did like 2 or 3 V-ties with a good amount of material on it with just some hackle and bucktail off the back. It's kind of like, what I'm assuming how that fly was tied. Here we're gonna go with a much more kind of a little bit of a larger head, top and bottom, for that kind of traditional EP sort of look, as opposed to that slimmed down kinky muddler head that I was tying just before. So we'll see. This one's gonna get trimmed down. All right. Let's go ahead. I'm actually just gonna make this easier on myself, trim it a little, and then retaper it. Brushes maybe too. Yeah, it wasn't a brush though, I think, because there was like tan on top, white on the bottom. You know, it looked like it was just kind of like heavily tied EP fiber, from what I could tell. But yeah, I'll show you right now, the GT Slammer from saltwaterflies.com that we tie from time to time for Chris is, if I was going for like roosters, I'd probably just bring some of these, honestly. Let me show you. What the hell is, I just said the name of it. What was it? Oh, the GT Slammers. These right here. Like, these are giant trevally flies that we tie and some other folks tie for saltwaterflies.com. These are 6-aught Gamakatsu SL12S. You could also do it on a 4-aught. And this is the EP dubbing brush. This is like essentially what we're doing now. Saddle hackle, bucktail collars, bucktail receiver style, tied up to about right here. And then you wrap the 3-inch dubbing brush from EP, the Foxy dubbing brush. Like, that's probably honestly all you need too. But these are thinner profile. These are more replicating like reef fish and stuff. They definitely don't push as much water as something as like a kinky muddler, because there's like a less of a side profile, more top and bottom. But I'm assuming those would probably, you know, work pretty well. Been cranking out the vids lately? Oh man, AR. Yes, sir, indeed. I got February all recorded, so I was showing you guys. Let me see if I could show you guys here. Yeah, why not? So we got February recorded, all done. I gotta do that. And this is the schedule for March, what I need to record, which I'm going to start working on probably in the next couple days. Bulkhead, clouser, yada, 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 boom, boom, grocery deceivers, bucktail hollows, updated Bob's banners, new style, 3-piece, quick 3 flies you could tie, for instance. We'll see how it goes. Yes, sir. Putting the time and effort into it, and I got nothing better to do other than sit here and tie flies, so might as well make some hopefully quality videos. Yeah, and if I also don't do a schedule, and if I don't film ahead of time, then I'll just fall behind. So we got our fly tying streaming schedule too, Friday nights after the new YouTube video drops. Keeping it nice and simple. We're doing 3 to 4 videos a week. Because I also now just got a bunch of fly orders, so we're tying all these rooster fish flies for a couple guys, and then we have the owner of this fly rod company is taking a bunch of people down. And now I got Sunday, I'm going to one of the local tackle shops. He wants to start selling fly tying material, so I'm going to help him figure that out and figure out what flies he needs for the spring. You know what I'm actually going to do real quick? Excuse me. I'm going to tie 2 small collars here. Let me back this off. I want to leave enough room to do one more because I'm going to trim this pretty good. But we got a huge order for whitewater outfitters I'm working on. I just ordered they're gonna need like a tractor trailer to drop off all the hooks and bucktail I just ordered from saltwaterflies.com last night. Which again, saltwaterflies.com is amazing. It's not guaranteed, you know, that it'll be processed in like a day or two, but a lot of the times Chris is so quick with this stuff, which is pretty imperative, you know, when I do this stuff. So it makes it a lot easier for me. So shout out to saltwaterflies.com. Always go check them out. I've been buying material there since the late 90s, early 2000s. Literally probably one of the first original online saltwater, or just material places in general, but saltwater materials specifically, which is pretty crazy. Hey, Nelson. Yeah, I'll see you at the LI Fly Show. I'll be there tying flies. I don't know what I'm going to be tying. Probably some squimpish stuff. That's usually, I like tying flies that like aren't necessarily like take too long, but are still like kind of fun to tie for me, you know, while I'm like canning out and talking to people. So we'll probably be tying some cool squimpish hollows while we're there. Because I don't know if squimpish flies will be at the show, so I got to represent the folks at Squimpish. Which, by the way, Squimpish Flies is opening up a like a store in upstate New York, and they're working with a dispensary or a cannabis company. It's going to be the, like, I think Squimpish Flies Fish Whistle Outpost or something it's called. And we might actually have some flies up there for sale. I think they're going to, I got to message them back, but they're going to have like a nice storefront for their business. So if you're up in that area, I know Craggerole, I think, is somewhere upstate. I know some of you folks are somewhere up in the area up there. You should probably go check it out. I might need to take a drive up there. But I think we might tie him some flies just so they want to have like flies of all the members of the team to just kind of display up there and sell a couple or whatever. I don't think it's in Pulaski. Let me take a look. I'll let you guys know. Hold on. Give me 1 sec. Where's it going to be? Because I believe they're opening up in March or something. It's going to be open very soon. The Fish Whistle Trading Post, which, I mean, God, there's going to be so many Subarus pulling in and out. April, May, they're going to be opening in Hancock, New York. Up in Hancock, New York. I'm actually going to look. Where is that? I don't even have an idea where that is. Where the hell is that? What county? Oh, that's like literally on the border. It's on the edge of Pennsylvania. Okay. It doesn't look like, well, it's still pretty far up there. It's like directly due west of Woodstock on the edge of Pennsylvania. Up that far up, like. So where the hell is, okay, so the Catskills are there. Oh, and Albany's up there. It's going to be a much shorter drive than, what do you call it? Than what I'm used to if I, like, go salmon fishing or whatever. Yeah. Okay. Let me see. I'm not going to, like, dox myself here. No. It's right here. Right on the Upper Delaware. Very cool. What's up, YouTube fam? What's going on, Fly Time New England? How you doing? Putting that work in. How you doing, Jay? Slamming cores or what? All right. We're going to just do one more tie here. Nice and short. Not a lot. Because I said I wanted to. I'm doing it. Taper it up. This is kind of a test for these, for this order. I kind of want to figure out how I want to tie this, these guide flies, if you will. Again, these will be tied on Gamakatsu SL12Ss. These are the new Mustad hooks, but I'm just using these to test it out. And you can see only using a couple wraps. I'm not trying to build too much thread up with this flat wax nylon, because you don't really need too much. And we're going to be using 3D eyes with E6000. What does everybody use? I'm curious what everybody uses for their, if you're putting 3D eyes on synthetic material. I use E6000 nowadays. I know a lot of people like the Liquiseal 3000 liquid nails or whatever that, or Loctite glue is. I forget the name of it. Uptown Dave, longtime viewer. We haven't seen him in a while, but he's part of the Squimpish team. He gave me a bottle of that. It's apparently pretty expensive. I just go to the hardware store and I get E6000, which is like the commercial strength version of like shoe glue or something. You like the E6000? Yeah. Usually need a somewhat bulky head and wiggly tail. The second fly you showed earlier is a J. Murakashi head called the Wiggly Airhead. Okay. It works better to tie something like what you're currently tying. Feel free to check us out and join us whenever you want to tie some flies. All right, sounds good. You're saying the second pic I showed on my phone with the there was like a couple EP ties on there. Gotcha. Yeah, again, this would be tied on probably like a 4-rod. This is what I would use, the 4-rod SL12S. We'd probably make it like 5.5 or 5 inches, something like that. So we'll see. We'll see if this is too much. I am going to trim this in a traditional EP style, so this is where it kind of comes together, hopefully. We may need to just, in general, tie a little bit less EP to make it just easier. But you like using liquid fusion? Interesting. Good for people that have skin reactions to super glue. Oh, okay. You like the Loctite fly tie in New England? Yeah, the liquid fusion I've used a couple times. I love it, but it just takes forever to dry. And it also, when it does dry, it like loses its bulk. So like I've tried doing surf candies with it, and it was just like you had to constantly build it up. So I think it's definitely, I think I was just using it raw, and I think I would use it more like, almost like a soft tex. You know what I mean? But that's interesting. You use the 3D eyes with that, and we'll have to try that, Doc. So I'm just going to pinch this material together so I can try and get the profile that I'm looking for here, because the eyes are going to essentially do that. And we're going for that kind of larger EP head. I can always trim it more if I need to. I'm going to hit the sides here slightly, start taking down the bulk. Always taking your scissors, angling them outward so you don't cut too much of the material off here. And you can see we're already starting to work that amount of material down here. This is still a little bulkier than I want it, especially for a size 2. I think for a size 4-odd, you know, we're going to trim it a little bit more, then it would probably be an acceptable amount of material for the hook to still be able to turn it over. Like we... let me make sure I get your name right again. I got to drop you subscribe to your channel. Santy Sport Fishing. Let me go here. Just do that real quick. I'll check you out. Why can't I just go to for my moderation? Like, can't I just click your channel here? Ah, there we go. There we go. If you want to go check out Santa Sport Fishing. Dropped you a sub there. Liquid fusion is great for the mushmouth. Oh yeah, you're talking about for the tail, Nelson. So in the new mushmouth video I did, I like using the flex resin now, because it's pretty similar. I'd say it's probably even a little bit more. It's much more stiffer, right? But still flexible. But I think if you're looking for, this is what I told somebody yesterday. They were like, "Yo, I tied the Pamet Special," and this cool dude on Instagram, beautiful looking flies he sent me too, but or sent me photos. But he was saying that he uses soft tex for the gluing the head instead of resin. And I told him, I'm like, dude, David Skoke, who used to tie all of the mushmouths, stopped using that stuff. This is what Chris Windrum told me, because that stuff was so toxic to work with and like commercially tie that he was like, you'll start getting sick from using Softex. So I recommend a Liquid Fusion. I think Liquid Fusion's a very similar sort of result to if you were using Softex, you know. But I'm curious, does anyone still here use Softex? Because that was something we used to use in like the 90s. And then I think we just stopped using it because people were like, yo, I don't think you should use that stuff. It's like you're going to go brain dead if you tie with the windows closed, you know, that sort of thing. I'm curious if anyone still uses it. If you do, I recommend making sure you're well ventilated, for sure. Because I've been told by multiple people that have been commercially and like tying in the industry for years not to use that stuff. So I got to watch out. This is all hearsay. So if like Softex, is that even still a thing? Don't sue me, all right? But they probably got a warning on the bottle. But yeah, I think Liquid Fusion's a much safer. It's like a water-based, thing. Be like the Mad Hatter by the time you are 50. A fun little story. I used to work at a local skate park, and they had a little wooden shack. And we would sit in there in the winter, right, with the heat on, with the doors closed, and the kids would be out skating in like 10 degrees weather. And what do you call it? I would be sitting and tying flies while one of the other guys would be like reading a book, and the other guy would be playing like PlayStation or something. And this one guy, the older guy, used to play hockey. He was always interested in the fact that I tie flies. He's like, man, this is so cool. So he'd come and stop by and see us all the time. And one day he opens the door, and I was just using Hard as Nails, which is a woman's, or anybody who uses nail polish, I guess. It's not for women only, you know, no judgment. It's like a clear coat to put on your nail polish. So Mark Sadati taught me that you don't need head cement. You can go down to an Eckerd's or something and buy Hard as Nails and use that as head cement. But it's essentially like nail polish type smell. And I was like tying flies commercially, and we were in there for hours with the doors closed, and the guy opens it up. He's like, oh my God. He's like, how are you guys not high? You're going to die in here. And the one guy I was working with like started freaking out, and he was like, I don't think you should tie in here anymore. I'm like, man, shut up. You were probably loving your book, you know. I'm like, this is nail polish. I'm like, we're not like, you really want to get stoned, you know, we come hang out after work, you know, but I remember that guy was like, oh my God. The Sally Hansen's Hard as Nails stinks for so long now, it seems. I haven't used it in years, Laserbeam. How you doing, Laserbeam? But, I mean, for a while, that was the only thing I used. I would never get head cement because it was just, like, more expensive for head cement. There was, like, no fly tying places locally. And if it's good enough for Mark Sadati, I mean, you know, you know what I'm talking about? Round of applause for Mark Sadati. By the way, Mark Sadati has a new YouTube channel. It's Mark Sadati, the Video Angler. Go check it out. In my opinion, the world's greatest fly casting instructor. One of the best fly tiers, and now he's just putting YouTube videos on how to improve your fly casting for free. So go check him out. You can also mix Liquid Fusion with a little water. I hear the same thing from Softex is toxic. Yeah. Oh, so you can mix Liquid Fusion with water to what? Like thin down the viscosity of it? Here, let me post his channel. Give me 1 second. I'll post the link for you guys. Hold on. In fact, can I do it in this? I think I can do it on this screen. YouTube. Click. I'm going to shut that audio down just in case something starts playing. Subscriptions. I gotta say, on the PC, it's like not very intuitive to... It's really not that intuitive to like find the channel you're looking for on the PC compared to the phone when you go to your subscribers list. Okay, you got to go to manage to see all the names. Okay. Hold on. It's like 1,000 channels I'm following on YouTube. Yeah, I'll post the link here for you in a sec. Oh my God, I'm following so many channels. There we go. Mark Sadati, the Video Angler. I would like to share the channel, please. Copy. And then I will post it in my Restream chat. So both YouTube and Twitch should get it. And now let's see, did that work? Because I don't think I've ever posted a link in this combined chat. Yes, it did. There you go. That is Mark Sadati's new YouTube channel. He sent me a text yesterday. He's like, "Hey, Mike, I got a new YouTube channel. If you could, go follow it or something." I said, "I'm gonna get you some subscribers. Don't worry." I'm like, how many people, especially in the saltwater like striped bass world, like if you don't understand the importance of the Sadati slammer and him as a fly tyer, especially from like the 90s and stuff, and like me growing up as a kid. He was one of the first fly tyers I saw in person, and I still have a fly that he gave me back in the day. So it's an honor to know him now and go fishing every once in a while. But I said, "Don't worry, we're gonna get you some subscribers." So I'll tell this story right now. He's the only person I've ever seen, and this was, let's see what year. Let me try and tell the story. I'll try and do it justice, right, as we glue these eyes on. All we're going to do is go ahead, take the E6000 and some 3D eyes, and we're going to put them on here as I try and tell you the story. But so this was back in the day when it wasn't Edison, New Jersey, the fly fishing show. It was the Somerset show, if anyone remembers that. There was like some sort of hotel. There were like 2 hotels that it was part of. And I had known Mark from the Eastern Fly Rodders when I was a kid. I was the only kid. It was like a local fly fishing club here on Eastern Long Island that met in Riverhead. And what do you call it? He came and did a fly tying presentation. Already, I was like, this guy's crazy, and I love it. He was like, "You got to blend the materials and let them work together naturally." And like half the guys that were a part of our fly club were like all New York City retired like cops and firefighters, and they're like, "This guy is crazy." They were like so old school. Mark's over here. He's like he's almost like a wonder child, like a like he's not like a hippie, but he almost is like, he's very sort of like if the Grateful Dead tied flies. That's Mark Sadati. You know what I mean? And just like genius. But it was so funny. But then I saw him at the Somerset show. And he was like, "Okay, we're going outside." He takes a 5-weight rod. He ties the right leader. He ties a, proper leader setup is key. And he has I don't think I have one here. It's downstairs. It's literally half a chicken, schlop and hackle, 2 hooks, extension with wire, with like an 8-aught. This is back in the day in the 90s, like fly hooks. We didn't have the really nice lightweight, high-tempered steel fly hooks. They were big, chunky fly hooks when they were 8-odds and stuff like that. He's throwing a slammer that's like 15 inches long, 14 inches long, lead keeling on the wire on the bottom, and he starts casting this fly on a 5-weight trout rod in the middle of February. It's like we're in the snow, like in like a couple, like half a foot of snow, and he's out there casting it. And he cast this thing, I'm not even joking, 130 feet into the backing, like in the wind. And I'm like, it blew my mind. I didn't even understand. It's not only because he's a world-class fly casting instructor and he knows how to just fly cast. He's one of the best out there. He knows how to tie. He figured out how to tie a 14-inch fly and still be able to cast it on like an 8-weight because he developed a lead keel by tying lead strips on the bottom of the hook shank, even though he literally had like a half a chicken's worth of feathers on this fly or something. He figured out a way to balance the weight on the fly so that you could actually just still cast it. And I mean, mind you, if I tried that, I probably wouldn't be able to cast that fly as far. He's definitely a world-class fly caster. But I could still cast one of his slammers because I've done it before, like really far, like with pretty minimal ease because it's the way he ties them. But he's got a channel for fly casting. And if I'm telling you right now, people pay a lot of money to get fly casting instructions from Mark Sadati. So, you know what I mean? Hey, what's going on, Stu? A little kid at the fishery I go to has a perfect fly cast. I can't figure it out. Dude, it took me years to get my fly cast down. I've taught people and they've learned in an afternoon. So it's all about practicing, it's all really about, getting the timing down right. And also, I will say this, I don't know how long you've been, fly fishing for and stuff, but having a proper fly line really helps. Like having a quality fly line can almost be more important than the rod and the reel nowadays when it comes to loading a fast action rod properly and stuff. So if for people that are just starting out, because again, I don't know how long you've been fishing, having the proper line, after that, it comes down to technique and just practicing, not exerting yourself too much. It's timing with your loops and when you're going forwards and backwards. And then at some point, once it clicks, it becomes like riding a bike, but having the proper rod and line setup, definitely, you don't want to hinder yourself. You know what I mean? So all I'm saying is just have a quality line, you know what I mean? Like a nice Rio, whatever. It doesn't have to be hundreds of dollars. Just, sometimes people will use like starter fly stuff and they'll have like a Walmart Chinese fly line that just doesn't load the rod. It has no head on it, stuff like that. But it's funny, like AC Fishing, who I do some clamming with, he picked it up probably in a month or two, and he was doing like 70, 80-foot casts, 9-weight rod with a 10-weight line, the Rio striper lines, and it was just, he kind of just, it clicked to him, But it took me probably a year or two of practicing on the lawn, and then I actually started hitting the water, and this is when I was a kid. And then once you actually hit the water, you start dealing with the wind. That's a whole nother game, right? So you definitely want to practice on the water. You want to practice with the wind in your face. You need to learn how to turn your hand sideways so the rod is the backbone of the rod is facing away from you, so you don't smack yourself in the head with a clouser. There's a lot of and I was like, oh, should I make videos on this? No, I'm terrible at it. You got to go follow Mark Sadati. If there's somebody that hopefully he makes a ton of videos, that'll be like the really the one channel you probably need to get some good fly casting instructions. So, all right, we got to put some eyes on here. Sorry, I got carried away, but Mark Sadati gets me excited when I think about him casting a 14-inch fly like 130 feet, That's like, as a kid, that's pretty exciting stuff when you're addicted to fly fishing. Yes, matching the leader, right? You need a heavy enough leader. Your fly can't have too much material, right? You don't want a fly that's too bulky, like too much bucktail, too much hackle and stuff. And if you do, and if you are chonking it up, then you need to make sure that you do what Mark does and put a keel on there, right? All right, so we're going to put some eyes on here. I don't know if I have the exact size. I ordered a bunch of this stuff. This is just a test anyway, so we're just going to find one that I like. I will say these waspy eyes, terrible. I hate them. I never want to use them. I'm going to use them now, but because these are just samples. So even that's a little big. We can go smaller than that. This is a little too small. I would like a little larger. But I don't necessarily have that. So what about this? Oh, yeah. There you go. I think that'll work. It's not silver, but we get the idea. We're just doing a test here anyway, so. Effing wind, man. That's a shirt idea we were going to do years ago with Jungle Cock Jeffy, my good friend, captioned saying effing wind, but with the full thing. That's pretty much a fly fisher's worst enemy is the wind. So if you can learn how to work with the wind and use the wind to your advantage by back casting and using the wind to like suck the fly line out of your stripping basket and shoot that thing out there, that's how you you can start stepping up your game. Learning how to back cast, learning how to cast into the wind, just turning your wrist slightly so you don't hit yourself, yada yada, vice versa. It can make all the difference from like you being miserable the entire day to like actually, and also not putting your fly in the zone where the fish are, right? To like actually having success in getting your fly out there. But if you are struggling, to get, obviously you got to work on your casts and work on your, all that, your fly casting. But also, a lot of times you can try and fish in areas where you're still going to catch fish. Like I said, AC Fishing, when he was just learning, his casts were limited to 30, 40 feet at most, and I brought him to a spot where there's a drop off pretty close by, so he doesn't need to get his fly that super far out, and his fly can still be in the zone. And if he's not able to get it that far out, don't strip it really quick. You don't want to spend more time with your fly in the air than in the water. You want your fly to be in the water more, So maybe strip that fly slower, work it slower, throw dead drift it, pause it, if you're not getting tons and tons of distance. So that way your fly is at least potentially. But then, again, you got to make sure you're in the right area. It's tough. It took me a year before I caught my first striped bass on the fly. I was saltwater fly fishing for like a year or two, and like a year and a half, catching bluefish, cocktail blues, snappers, trout. That because they used to stock them in this one lake. They don't do that anymore. I was catching bluegills, largemouth, but I couldn't catch a striped bass. It was just tough. I don't know why. I was fishing all the right spots. I was in blitzes. I just couldn't connect. And then finally I started catching some, and it just, just started happening. But it's tough. It's catching striped bass in general isn't always the easiest thing. The fishing isn't as amazing as it used to be. And then fishing with a fly rod, or even any species, fishing with a fly rod at times can put yourself at a disadvantage because you're just not able to cover as much water, as much ground. Sometimes we got to spend more time casting than we do fishing. That's why I try to limit, like I said, the amount of false casting I'm doing and more fishing, right? But we have the benefit of being able to fish in ways that you can't with a spinning rod, right? You can't throw a mayfly dry fly with a spinning rod, right? Or you maybe can't necessarily replicate a bunker with a plug as well as you can with natural materials, and you don't even have to touch it and it'll just move on itself, simulating that lifelike appearance. So there's pluses and minuses, but personally, 99.9% of fishing I do nowadays with a fly, even if I know I could catch more fish with a spin rod, just because it's more enjoyable to me, and when I do get the fish on the fly, it's that much more fun. So not to say you're not going to catch fish. Sometimes you'll catch more fish with a fly than you will a spin rod. That's happened plenty of times, especially when they're keyed in on certain baits, vice versa. But, they call it the struggle stick for a reason at times, so definitely keep at it, keep working at it, your casting. Try and identify what the issues are. You know what I mean? Are you too slow on going forward or backwards, vice versa? You know what I mean? You got to try and see what's going on. Maybe film yourself casting, right? And then watch it afterwards. Something you could do. Really, it just took me a while to get there. All right. Well, there we go. This is essentially like the kinky muddler, but I just tried to leave the head a little bit larger. And, what do you call it? I probably could have maybe trimmed a little. Let's see. Maybe I brush it out right here. I guess it's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. That's pretty much the shape and profile I'm looking for. It's a little bit larger, a little bit more material than the kinky muddler head that I usually do. But, it's virtually the same fly, right? Just the kinky muddler's kind of, even though that's with slinky fiber and whatnot, I'm using EP. But, it's all just like kind of V-tied synthetic material that's trimmed down. Yeah, I think that's good, right? I think so. Yeah, this is kind of like how we normally tie them. So I'll send a picture to the customer and see what he thinks. This is on a 2-aught too. This is kind of like how I'd kind of fish it as a 2-aught. Right there, I could trim it a little bit more. I'm not even going to trim it. It'll be fine. But let's, my God, it's getting hot in here. How long have we been streaming for? An hour and 30 minutes? All right, we're going to take a quick little break. We're going to play our little Albie highlight. I'm just going to go get a glass of water real quick and hit the hookah lounge for 1 second. I'll be gone for like 2-3 minutes, not even. And we'll tie one more of these in a different color. I think maybe we'll use like a rust color up top. Now, I kind of want to try that guide fly, like whatever you're saying that airhead thing is. Let me see, what was the name of that thing? Maybe we can look this up and take a look. The Wiggly Airhead. Let me just like look this up real quick. Let's see if we can get a photo of that. Oh, these are like the ones, I guess, that the guy had. I see. The second fly that I showed is, I see what you're talking about. Or this is like the exact same fly that the guy, what do you call it? The guy dropped off. Because there's the airhead. This is the wiggly airhead. Gotcha. Is a game-changing fly with a hollow head design. Give it more natural swimming motion. Gotcha. Yeah. We're not tying those for the guy, but that's what the name of that one is. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so I'm assuming you do the kind of cone head that we did on a Pamet special, vice versa, and then you just like tie that material on top, it looks like. It says hollow, but the one that I had, it looks like it was kind of just tied on top there. Maybe hollow tied, but... Roger. Okay. Well, we are... I think what we can do... I do want to try this other style. Let me show you guys. I did show it to you before, but I'll show you again. Like, this is kind of what we just tied, essentially. You could see, right? With a 4-aught hook, I'd be able to get a little bit larger. Or I can... So that's the thing I was trying to do. I am trying to... Maybe on the next one, we should trim it less and have a larger... See that larger profile, right? But this is kind of exactly how I... this is a little bit trimmed down more for the kinky. So maybe we do tie one more of these and try it. The other fly... So that's something I was thinking. It's like, do I need to... Now, this should be the same. Yes, these are look like the exact same fly to me. So I'm just going to zoom in. Then there's this, which is the guide fly. And this looks like literally just like one V-tie or two V-ties with a ton of material at the front. These are what these guides were tying and what they've been catching the biggest roosters on or something or at least the local area. So it looks like 6 pieces of hackle tied in. I don't even see bucktail. And it's just like a bunch of EP fiber. I have one here. Or essentially one. And it's just the EP fiber. Or this is an EP, I'm sorry. This particular one is slinky fiber. It's like Steve Farrar, but without flash. So I think we're going to try one of those. I'll leave it up to you guys. Do you want me to tie another one of these? Try and get that profile larger, which all I need to do is kind of not trim it as much. Or do you want to see me try and tie one of these things? These are like, we're going to try and do it for, like, you know... essentially the same exact thing as these photos and try and replicate this guide fly as best as we can. I'm going to say it's much bulkier. It's a much bulkier fly. There's going to be a lot of material on there. I'll show you there's another photo with a profile from above. You know what I mean? So what do you guys... type a 1 in the chat for another kinky muddler. This time we're going to try and tie the head larger and get a better profile to match that photo. Essentially, imagine we're going to leave the head more like that. Now again, this is only a 2-aught, so I scaled it down. If we just tied it on a 4-aught, we'd just trim it less, right? But I can try and tie another kinky muddler. You do 1 for that, or do a 2 for this big old chunky guide fly. What do you guys want to see me tie? You guys can put that in the chat. 1 for the kinky muddler, 2 for the chunky monkey guide fly, we'll call it. And I'm going to take a quick break, and when I come back, we are going to tie whatever you guys pick. So put that in the chat. Probation, that's long gone. No ponytails for you, Wolfram. What's going on, Wolfram? How you doing, man? What colors I got? We're going to continue using EP fiber, I think. I have olive. I have rust color. Oh, you guys can't see. Let me zoom out. I have this like rust color. I have olive, black. I have chartreuse. What other EP colors? I should have... Oh, I got all sorts of colors, actually, now that I think of it. Because we tied a bunch of flies for Paul Dixon. We got yellow. Oh, we actually have real orange. I forgot. Purple, black, pink. Have you ever used wavy fiber on the big game or big game fiber? No, I don't think I have. What company is it from? You know, there's so many materials nowadays, it's crazy. There's just so many materials. Back when I was growing up, it was like Slinky Fiber, Supreme Hair, Unique Hair, Fish Hair, you know what I mean? Now there's like literally probably like 1,000 different synthetic materials. The Bonnie cord with the kinky muddler? What do you mean the Bonnie cord? I'm confused. 1 and 2. Okay. All right, we're going to take a quick little break. I'll tally up the votes, if you will. They're all trying to imitate kinkies, but the captains here are not fly guides or know how to properly tie at times. Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, these guys are probably locals that like know their stuff, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they focus on flies. But I mean, a lot of guides tie simple flies too. There's nothing wrong with it, right? So, all right, we'll tally up the votes here afterwards, and we'll see. My room is hot as hell. I'm going for a walk. I'll be back in a second. Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. Stay tight, all right? Yeah, keep it tight. Yeah, dude. Yeah, he did. Knuckle buster. Are you good? Do you need me to do anything?
Yeah, I might need a ride. Yes.
Okay. Hold on, I'm gonna turn now.
I'm gonna try and get on the valve.
Yeah, get on the valve. All right, you're doing good. Keep doing your thing. I'm gonna move us away.
Is that a little one?
No, that's a nice one.
Oh, let's go!
Come here, hold next to your alley. Good job.
That's sick.
All right. Nice.
Let's go! Woo! Albie slap!
Good job, dude.
Yee!
Looking down the barrel of a 12 gauge little toonie, bro. On the albacore too. Here, take it over like that. We are back. You like them for stripers on the Delta out in California. Oh, very cool. How's the Delta fishing been recently? That's something I've never got to experience. Maybe one day is try out the California Delta. Back before Canada, I almost just said. Back before striper fishing in Canada started blowing up, the West Coast striper fishing was really the only other substantial school of fish, if you will. Chartreuse with a pink stripe and a white belly. Ooh, okay. Oh, let me tally up here. We got 1, 1, 1, and 2. We got a lot of ones. Okay, you guys want to see the another kinky muddler, if you will, but this time we're going to try and imitate. I'm going to go for a larger hook so we can try and get that size proper. Yeah, Johnny Kins is an amazing fly tire. I love the kinky muddler. I think his fly would definitely end up in that guy's book if he had this pattern back then. For the evolution of the muddler minnow pretty much influencing like a huge majority of flies nowadays. All right, so what are we doing? I need to find a hook that's a larger size. This is going to be interesting because I don't know if I have any Gamakatsus. Oh, I could always tie it on a... Hey, check these out. Old 254 razor claw, laser sharp flatwing hooks. By the way, not fly hooks, the 254 O'Shaughnessy's that Ken Abrams used to use. And they used to theorize, one of my favorite things we should do a video on, they would theorize on whether it was nickel plated or the finish of the Eagle Claw hooks would affect the sink rate of flatwings. If you really want to get into whispers and Ken Abrams tying, we can start going over the finishes of hooks and how that affects sink rates. That's like if you really want to get psychotic. You know what I mean? I don't know if we need to get that deep, but we could go over it one day. Oh, very cool. Yeah, we've been making content. I've been streaming for years. I've been tying commercially for like 5, 6, 7 years now. And we've been streaming about that amount of time. It wasn't until recent, and I've been making some YouTube videos, but recently I've been putting a lot more time and effort into it. And we get to stream on YouTube now, which is huge. So I'm just looking for hooks right now. I have a big box here with just random stuff. Let me see what I have. I don't think I have any like 4-odds left. So maybe we'll use one of those Eagle Claws because it's just a larger hook. I want to talk about rooster fish flies. That's a little too big. That's a tuna hook. We do have these. See, these are a little too long shank. These, which by the way, I've bent 30 different Ahrex Bob Clouser hooks, so I wouldn't tie rooster fish flies on them, but I'm just looking for something, a canvas, if you will, for us to tie the fly on. I think we're going to go with the Eagle Claw hooks. Other than like some circle hooks I got, this is like the best we got, I think. I could tie them on a circle hook, though, and I think I will. Because, if you think about it, this is very similar. It is a... alright, we'll just... Let me see. Let's compare. Let's compare what our options are here, shall we? It's probably like a similar... So what did the guide use here on these? Some sort of... Maybe a larger Gamakatsu or something? I forgot what the model of this would be. It wouldn't be an SL12. The 254s are... They're like 1x long, I think, or something, so they're not too long. And then versus this circle hook I have here. That's just huge. We'll use the Eagle Claw. That should give us a pretty good approximation, if you will. Not going to be the same as a big game, but... God, dude. I'm going to have to clean up after this. I have material everywhere. Pretty good to get started when the water temps come up just a little bit. Your local class are like 12 to 16 year-round. Oh, that's perfect. Nothing wrong with that. You don't need a 4-aught? Those are SO12S? Yeah, I know, but we're going for a larger size, right? Because these guys ordered them in 2-aughts and 4-aughts, are what they fish them in a lot. So I just wanted to try and replicate the larger head that we're trying to achieve. But you know what? We could just tie it on a 2-aught, and this time we'll leave the head longer. How about that? Because we're essentially I'm trying to get out of the habit of over-trimming this to replicate that larger head. So you know what? We'll stick with the 2-aught. I like the idea. I just spent 5 minutes looking for hooks for no reason, but that's okay. This time we're essentially going to do the same thing. I'm going to take Craggerroll's opinion, though, and we're going to do chartreuse with a pink strip on the sides. And so we'll probably tie just some pink on the sides here every once in a while. And what do you call it? I'm going to try and trim the material to where essentially... Let's see if I can, how can I best do this? We're essentially going to try and have the profile come down like this. Normally I've trimmed it more like this, right? We're going to come down and we're going to keep that profile larger this time. We're just trying to remember, trim it correctly. But this time we're going to go with chartreuse. I think I'm just going to keep the hackle all white to keep it simple. Normally, I'd probably just go with 2 chartreuse hackle. We'll see, actually. If I have them here, I'll just grab it. But I don't want to get back up and down like 30 times here. Then our big fish push out in the spring. Fall class over 30 pounds. Nice. So did they come out of the delta, or did they come in from the ocean to spawn or something? How does that work? How does your, like, migration work, quote-unquote? Because here the fish, you know, they go north, and they go south, and they go up to spawn in rivers. Do I have some chartreuse hackle? You know what? This will work. That'll work. And we're going to look for some better white hackle. Will this work? That's a little, it's kind of beat up, you know what I mean? I think I can find some slimmer guys that we can use that are better quality. Even something like this will work fine. Because we're going to go with like 6 pieces of hackle here, so. No, those 4 will work because that's what we've been tying. We'll go a little extra. Why not? We'll go 6. Get all that tail movement. Yeah, I've never fished down there for roosters or what do you call it? God, what's the other? No, I guess rooster fish. I'm trying to think what's the other species that I'd go down there for. But I've tied a lot of roosterfish flies in my day. A lot for saltwaterflies.com. We have the Sardina deceiver that we tie, which apparently some people have had great success with. Pretty much just a big old deceiver. Which they we just recently tied an order of bunker blitz busters. Pretty much a high tie craft for baitfish. So if you're looking to pick some of those up, go check them out. They just got restocked in saltwaterflies.com. I've not tried an EP fly before. Just got some in, so I'm really paying attention. Okay, very good. So my favorite way of tying with this material, Paul, is the V-tie. You tie the material in, you'll see it right in the middle. You fold back. You tie the top and bottom, do the same thing. And you can either purposefully tie the material in, slowly tapering it, and you don't even have to trim it if you do it perfectly, right? But a lot of times you'll tie it in, slowly reducing the size as you go, kind of keeping it larger. We're going to keep it fairly large, though, for this profile we're doing now. And then you can just trim it to the shape that you like, you know? It's a little daunting at first, like kind of trimming it and trying to get the right shape, especially because back in the day, especially while streaming, I would trim a fly for like 15 minutes. It'd be like almost obsessive you know, like trying to trim it perfectly. Nowadays, I just, you know, I've gotten over that, luckily. But people in the chat used to say, like, stop trimming it. It's fine. And I'd be like, well, we can come off with a little bit here. Next thing you know, like with the deer hair flies, I'd end up with like a bare shank. Like, oh, what did I do? So don't overthink it too much when you're like going to trim the fly up and stuff. It's pretty simple. If you find that it's not swimming properly, like it's not sinking properly, you might need to take some material off, right? Like you could even trim it on the water. Even after you glue the eyes, I trim it again so you can trim it with the eyes on there, no problem. All right, so we got 6 pieces of hackle. Oh, I grabbed chartreuse. So let me take this one off. I was going to be lazy and say, nope, we're not using it, but I have it here. You guys voted for it. If I really wanted to get fancy, which I bet you the rooster fish don't care, we could go with white hackle, then pink hackle, then chartreuse, because that's the colors we're going with. But that sounds like way too much work. Now I got the chartreuse here. We're going to use this. Let me see if I can... Yeah, see, that's a nice feather right there. This looks like this came off a flatwing patch, actually. That's a nice feather, though. And if the camera is ever not in focus, because sometimes I like move the vise or something, just start yelling at me in chat and let me know, and I'll refocus it. I always try to pay best attention to it, but... Yeah, no problem, Paul. That's what we're here for. Can I go? Yeah, there we go. That looks good. See, this is a Chinese saddle hackle right here. That, to me, looks like it came from a flatwing patch, almost. Looks different. Go ahead and do the same thing here. We're going to tie this in. Almost went a little bit shorter with the chartreuse. I kind of like that at times, because if you look a lot of bait fish, the color doesn't always necessarily run down the entire length of the fish, but get a nice little blend there. For flash, again, something simple. A couple of pieces of crystal flash. Don't want too much. Oh shit, let me refresh this, make sure I'm all caught up. Venecia, is that how you pronounce it? California with a 7-mile long strait. Heaven for fishermen. West end is San Pablo Bay. East end is Suisun Bay, opening to the California Delta. So every migrating fish must pass. Very cool. Yes, I live on Long Island. Long Island sticks out in the Atlantic Ocean, and all the fish that migrate north and south have to pass by as well. So it's nice. We both live on like natural fish traps, which is great for fishing. In the past, though, the striped bass haven't been coming inshore. They've been just staying offshore because there's just so much, or at least last year, there was so much bunker. There was like no reason for them to come in. So our inshore fishing has kind of been bad, but it's great for the bunker, but they're just staying out in the ocean. They're not coming in the bay. The bunker as well. They're just hanging out there getting attacked by whales and sharks and giant bluefish and bass all day. Oh, man, you got steelhead and salmon? That's awesome. Yeah, we have some non-wild or I guess, native steelhead or salmon here in New York, but I would love to do some West Coast steelheading one day. Nothing wrong with our East Coast ones, but... Okay, these not very good chartreuse feathers. We'll put them back in the bag. There were a couple in there that were nice. I probably had these feathers for God knows how long. It's probably been like 15-year-old feathers right here. Some of this stuff is antiques by now. All right, we're going to do a light bucktail collar, not too much. I'm going to keep it pretty minimal this time, maybe a little less than last. So it blends in a little bit better. Taking the short hairs out. We don't want those, so we're going to pull those out. I usually do this in general when I'm tying longer pieces of bucktail. Less material to foul, yada yada. Also gives us just the shape, appearance we're kind of looking for. Try and keep this tie pretty close to the tail here so I leave myself enough room for these EP heads. I don't think we really want that much bucktail for this. If you see when I trim this one, it's almost, I mean, in the water, this is probably going to look great. You know what I mean? But I'm going to go with a little less bucktail, I think, on this one. Oh, chartreuse. Where are you, my chartreuse? That'll work. 7 mile stretch is 1 mile wide, so lots of fish at times passing by. Oh, I bet, yeah. I do love, as somebody who's grown up on an island surrounded by saltwater, I do love me some large river fishing for like big trout or salmon or steelhead. I do love the appeal of swinging flies with spey rods and stuff, throwing big streamers. I'm not a big like nymph or dry fly trout guy, but I do like throwing streamers and stuff, like essentially like straight bass flies, like Kenny Abrams sort of squimpish style stuff. If I lived up there, that's what I'd be doing. I'm going to trim this a little because I didn't cut it perfect. Even though I'm going to have to vacuum after this. I'm like vacuuming once a day now with between the videos and all that. I'm trying to stay on top of it because I'm filming in my room here, and unfortunately I don't have a lot of room. So I couldn't justify a spey rod purchase. I am very lucky. And Yo It's Okay, good friend of the channel and friend of mine, built or had a custom 14.5-foot sage, because he had a blank. He had it built for me by this like world-class spey rod builder for me. It's got a nice little grizzly hackle on there. I barely use it because it's so nice, and I don't really want to use it in saltwater. I kind of want to save it for freshwater spey fishing, but so I do have a beautiful custom-built 14.5-foot sage spey rod that's in like perfect condition that I never use. But all right, we're gonna start V-tying. In fact, I'm gonna take that out later and check it out, just gawk over it. I already have some white, so that's good. We're gonna use this, and I'll get the chartreuse and pink out, but we'll start with some white here. Let me move this stuff. Zoom out a little bit so you can see me tapering the material with my hands at times. You joined the local club because I had only seen 2 other people fly fishing there, and they are all shoulder to shoulder. Conventional, yeah. Well, that's a good thing. You can find some more fly guys in the area. Back when I started saltwater fly fishing, or just fly fishing in general, I just started with salt, but this was in 98 or something. I was like 8 or 9 years old, fishing all the time, straight bass fishing as a kid, but started fly fishing and ordered a rod at a local shop. I didn't see a single person fly fishing. I think I saw one other dude, and I think it was probably Glenn Mickelson in a canoe. For all you people that know Glenn Mickelson, the world-class fly tyer here on Long Island. The guy's been fishing in a canoe for years, but there was like 1 or 2 other people I ever saw for years in the late 90s, early 2000s. And then I met like 1 or 2 guys once, and they helped me catch my first fish. It was actually really cool. Or first striped bass, I should say. But yeah, there wasn't a lot of people saltwater fly fishing, man, especially locally. People would come up to me while I was fishing on the inlets, and they'd be like, "What are you doing?" They're like, there's no trout here. You can't fly fish. And I'm like explaining to them that you can catch striped bass. They're like, oh, wow. This is back when like a river runs through it was like super popular and all that, and the explosion of fly fishing was like just about to start happening all around that time or whatever. So nowadays, though, it's way more popular. You see people doing it. But yeah, depending on your local area, a lot of people might not fly fish. Up here, the majority of people, it's like 90%, 95%, you know, people are spin fishing, bait fishing. It's very rare you find a... Oh, wait, why am I putting tan on here? Whew. Almost caught myself. That was the... I caught you, Crag Roll. You didn't catch me in time. That's on you. All right, I got some chartreuse here we're going to use. But yeah, you pretty much never see anybody fly fishing here. Even with it being more popular now, it's like still pretty much all surf casting, bait fishing, you know, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was sitting there, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I think this is like a custom blend. I think this has yellow and olive in it. This is definitely not just chartreuse. This is pretty cool looking. Because I've tied kinky muddlers for some guides out here, and I think I made some custom blends. It's definitely got like a mix of colors. It could be a pre-blended material, though. I'm not certain. I like making my own blends a lot of times. The great thing about like EP fiber, stuff like that, you can blend it yourself. Make your own colors. You can blend it with angel. Normally, I'd be blending angel hair in here, but apparently roosters don't like any flash, so from what I've heard. Or at least the guys that are ordering the flies don't want them, so I'm not putting any on there, or at least not a lot. Tiny little bit of crystal flash. Peeking through out the back, you know what I mean? Nothing wrong with that. Okay, we're going to brush this out. The Mike Ross custom blends. Yeah, hell yeah. You know, Rico Plagucci, or whatever you say. He needs to get with the times, get the Mike Ross custom blends, you know, give me a percentage. Get Mike Ross, you know, strapped down at the border in Guadalajara. Got caught smuggling emu eggs with little peacock. Probably anybody watching on YouTube is like, what the hell are you talking about? That's the Twitch lore from years of Twitch streaming. You become, you go out of your mind and you start just babbling and coming up with, you know, lore for the channel. Rap videos, all sorts of stuff. How's it going, Cozy? How you doing? By the way, once the stream's done, if you haven't checked out, go watch a new Bucktail Deceiver video. Give it a like and give it a screw-roop. Slamming cores in the comment section so the algorithm picks it up. I checked it. It looks like it's not doing too good at the moment, but that's all right. This YouTube thing is like a full-time job almost. Some happy little angel fibers in the blend. Yeah, you know what I mean? Nothing wrong with that. But we're going just pure EP on this one. Nothing wrong with it. You can blend as you see fit. I'm actually gonna, let's see, I think I have some shorter stuff here we're gonna use. Yeah, the algo gods. There'll be like probably some college courses on the YouTube algorithm years from now. How the YouTube algorithm changed humanity. Our technology overlords. Beep, boop, boop, boop. All right, we're going to get some shorter fibers here. It is wild, though. Just like the video, the first 24 hours, if nobody watches it, it makes a huge difference. And if people like and just leave a comment or something like, it's crazy how much that changes the algorithm. It's actually wild. But I don't like to shill it too much. You know what I mean? I don't, you know, those like icons popping up everywhere in videos. Boom, boom, boom. It's like, you know, you're trying to watch a video on how to tie a raise fly. It's like 30 minutes long, 25 minutes of like, hey, what's up, fam? It's Alive Lives Mark here. And I don't know why I'm doing British accent. I'm thinking of like that kid Morgs who had that like Fortnite channel back in the day or something. It's like, make sure to like and subscribe. We got a new giveaway. And it's just like 25 minutes of like shilling my YouTube channel. And at the end, it's like 30 seconds of just the fly being tied. All right, see you later. And then it's like another 5 minutes of like and subscribe bells, like boom, boom, like popping up everywhere. I try to be pretty liberal. Like if you've made it to the end of the video, I'm like, hey, you know, we got some new videos coming out, so subscribe if you like. You know, that's all but I try not to I try not to shill myself too hard. It gets out of control too quick. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Definitely does. All right, I gotta start building up some material here. This stuff is probably not even really gonna get trimmed that much here on that side. So now I'm gonna start adding some pink crag roll because we are gonna be trimming it, right? So in fact, I should probably maybe I guess add some right now. Do a quick little touch up on the sides, like a little cheat code here. Let's see if I can. Now this does have flash on it. This is a sin for the roosters. Our rooster overlords. It's funny, some guys that I worked with, they were part of like the Surfcaster Journal crew or something. One of the guys I worked with. He'd be out fishing like literally all night. And then come in and, you know, as a mechanic and would come and work. And he'd be like, I'd be like, you know, he had a coffee machine in his truck. Serious guys catching 40, 50 pounders at night in the surf all the time. They went on a trip down Baja or something, do rooster fishing off cliffs and stuff without guides. And they were getting them on poppers. He was like, man, you had to reel so fast. You would never be able to catch one of those things on the fly. And it was just always so funny. Because it was like my old landlord telling me I couldn't harvest a deer with a recurve bow. You know? And then next thing you know, I have them at like 8 o'clock. Hey, you want to help me? I pull this deer out of the back of my Subaru. He's like, what? I just find it so funny. People are like, you would never be able to catch a rooster fish on the fly. But they just don't know. The real night shift. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not that obsessed with striped bass fishing that I don't get any sleep because I fish all night and then go like work a 9 to 5. That is crazy. Even with me, with my lax schedule of like commercial shell fishing or like making or tying flies, I don't go out. I'll fish till late, but I don't go out and fish all night and do it like 5 times a week. You know what I mean? Like that's that's a lot. I mute all the fly time videos and put them on 2x. I can't stand the blathering. Okay, good. That's good to know, you know? Well, that's what it's there for. I'm glad. I've shortened the length of a lot of them, so it should be quicker for you, for sure. The Pamet special, for instance, and the recent, what was the recent one? The Gibbs, for instance. You see the newer style I'm doing them. Previously, before I pretty much was talking while filming, now I do voiceovers. Excuse me. So I'm able to cut down the videos a lot better. The new Cinderworm video is dropping on Sunday at 1 o'clock or 1:30. Yeah. It's up for members, but it's only for a couple days. Just wait a couple days, and you'll see it on Sunday. And then Monday is the raise fly. Yeah, that's some dedication. I saw a video about fishing for roosters in the surf, and then this guy that lives like a bum, and that's all he does. It was a dream. Oh, yeah. Driving on like ATVs, like driving up and down the beach, catching giant rooster fish. Oh, yeah, that's awesome. If I could do that, I would. If I got a good connection down there, you never know. I might have to move down. The way how much it costs to live in New York. Jeesh. All right, we're going to tie some pink on the sides here. I'm going to do it all at once. Mm-hmm. Well, you know, some people get there and they're able to do it, especially if you can, like, for instance, be a guide and stuff. But one thing about being a guide is you spend a lot of time just, you know, helping other people fish. You're not always going to go fishing yourself. You might not even want to go fishing half the time. But if you enjoy putting people onto fish, then being a guide's probably the best way of going about making a life out of that. Unless you could be one of those guys that like have the Australian guys that have YouTube channels and they like flip their boats over off islands in like Australia and they're like, I got stranded for 16 days. Oh, that's not Australian. They're like, oi, mate. They're like, I got stranded for 16 days, mate, and we ran out of durries or something, you know? It's a terrible Australian accent, but I threw in the durries to help. Unless you could do that, then you could probably make like a living. You just got to flip over like $130,000 flats boat and then like go swimming with like tiger sharks and like hunt like sea turtles or something like they do on YouTube nowadays. I don't know. Those videos, you know what I'm talking about? There's like a bunch of those channels, but yeah, there's one dude, he's like the head honcho. He's got like crazy content. He's out there like in like clear kayaks with like great whites and stuff, like all sorts of crazy stuff. Yeah, and of course they're not flipping their boats over on purpose. I'm just joking. But it's always like, you know, I got dropped off on an island for 15 days. They're like hunting like crabs that are like the size of like dinner plates and stuff. Like, of course somebody's gonna... That's amazing content. Good on those guys. That's what you gotta do. You just gotta go get dropped off on a remote island in Australia for like, I don't know, a month out of the year and bring like 45 GoPro batteries and cameras and stuff and try not to get killed by saltwater crocodiles or something and just start a YouTube channel. You know what I mean? And when they find your GoPro eventually, you know, in the stomach of a bull shark, then, you know, at least, you know, maybe your loved ones can get some good ad revenue or something out of it. You're like, I'm from Wisconsin. You go to they just drop you off in like the outback somewhere, or like on on Fraser Island. Shook Pass drives past you. Yeah, you're in the wrong area, mate. Yeah, we are gonna go to Australia one day, but we'll have to go visit Australis fishing. Just go say hi. I just want to go to Australia. But that'll be in the future when I'm not a fly tying bum. When I'm a fly tying guy. Not there yet. Still the bum. Gotta get the guy status. Oh, yeah. I don't think I'm that active to be able to have a YouTube channel like that, though. But they're out there like surviving like in like 110-degree heat. Like even if you have supplies, I don't care if you even brought everything you could ever need. That's hot. A little too hot for me. It's one thing I could never like I could never even live in Florida. I had an ex-girlfriend move down to Florida and she was trying to get me to move down there. I went down there to visit for like 2 weeks. I said, I got to go back. It's so, the humidity, the heat. Like, I definitely like the swing in temperatures here in New York. It's too hot. Perfect amount of pink. Good. I'm glad. I'm glad I got the Cragger Roll approval. Amen, amen. That makes me feel like I'm on the right track. We'll do our little touch of pink. You don't want too much, and we are ending up trim this. I'm going to try not to trim it too much, but we will end up trimming it a little. You live 3 blocks from where the bait balls are being chased. Oh man, I love it. I live this is where if you ever, unfortunately, so maybe we'll try this. Maybe we'll do like a stream on Twitch and then a stream on YouTube. But when I fish and stream, it's always been on Twitch over the years because I can't multi-stream, and that's just where I've streamed. But maybe we'll switch it up. You know, we'll try vice versa because I can only pick one. And I live right down the road from a little creek, salt pond, and that's where I do the majority of my spring fishing. I just walk down there and get to walk and just go do some fishing. So I'm very lucky. Nothing crazy, but it's good enough to where I want to go down there like every afternoon with like with a White Claw or something, or like a Guinness. Go do some fishing. Can afford a fur coat on rosy-cheeked woman, as bikes guys would say. What? That's got to be. See, I didn't say it in an Irish accent because I'm picturing like that's got to be some, just roll off the tongue beautifully. That's got to be like an Irish phrase or something. Say that to some guy in Brooklyn, he'd be like, "What the hell are you talking about?" Oh, God. I love it. All right, we're going to fold that back. Fold this back. Nice and tight. Again, I'm just trying to build up this body because we're going to trim it. I'm trying to achieve this nice classic larger EP Sardina head, if you will, or something. Bill! Okay. Alright, we're just going to clean up this thread head here. And then we can wrap this up. I don't want to get overzealous with my hook eye. I don't want to cover it up. Now I am going to, I'll coat this thoroughly with head cement. I'll probably just send this to one of the guys as a test. Or these might be going in the Friday Fly giveaway, which I need to put up or shut up because we've been doing giveaways on Twitch now for years, and I've been saying that I need to figure out how we're going to do it on YouTube. Because I'm multi-streaming, I technically can't do a giveaway on Twitch and YouTube at the same time because it's against Twitch terms of policy. And the programmer uses a marble race, which is awesome, and we can't link that to YouTube, unfortunately. So I need to figure out, maybe I'll ask people in the Discord or something, but I'm thinking a video. So maybe the last video of the month on YouTube on Friday, we could do, a giveaway or something like that. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. So, but, yeah. If you guys have any ideas, let me know. Just a way to give back, we just send you a single fly in the mail in the envelope. If it gets there, it gets there. All right? That's how it works. If you're like in Sri Lanka or something, if it gets there, it gets there. Most of the time, you're going to be good, even if you're in like Ireland or somewhere like Doc. But I've had, all sorts of mishaps. But so I'm trying to figure out the best way of going about that because we generally do that on Twitch via the marble race. So, not really certain. Okay, I'm going to trim this very liberally here because we're trying to achieve that larger profile. So I wonder if I just need to tie this material in way denser and taller, or if we just trim it like this. Because once I glue the eyes on it, it'll be good. I think we don't want to trim too much off the top. I want to take some off the sides. We're trying to keep that profile top and bottom. That's the whole thing, reason we're tying this again. So not off the top, just the sides. Hopefully not trimming too much pink off at the same time. That's why I tied at least 3 collars. You could have gone the whole way with that pink, right? That's looking pretty decent. So all we do is we just don't trim it too much, I guess. Yep, something like that. And I'll compare it to, this is like the classic kinky muddler head. You see how much I I trim it in comparison, right? So this is kind of how I think we're going to do it for... I am going to take a little bit more off the sides here to clean it up. We want a little less material. Now, again, this is a 2-aught. I'm just doing this for demonstration, so I really don't need to get too crazy with it. But back here, see that? Like, I think we want... Now, you don't want to take too much off, though, because, you know, we do want that water to hit this head, flow around, and then essentially the idea behind these flies, and just like deer hair, just like hollow ties, bucktail ties, the reason why you have these heads, these bulkier heads in the front, is so that when it hits the material in the back, it causes, like, if you've ever looked at how the aerodynamics hit a car and how they circulate up and come back around, it causes this fluttering action in the tail. So the water hits the head and then comes around and is forced back down into the tail, top and bottom, and on the sides, and it causes that fluttering. That's essentially how it works. It's not the aerodynamics, because it's what's the term for aquadynamics? Is that the correct term? I believe it is. We've looked it up before. It's like for how like water passes over fish, for instance. Is that it? Is it aquadynamics? I'm sure there's somebody in chat who's smarter than me that knows it. No, it's hydrodynamics. Yeah, that's what it is. Hydrodynamics. That's got to be it. Yeah. I'm almost certain. Like, if you could take this fly, put it in the water, like the swim tank, and then put dye on it, and have, like, the dye flow through and fly over the fly, you would see how it, like, hit a vortices that is forming around the head, and then it would hit the tail, essentially. Will they surf fish the roosters with these? No, they're going to be on boats, probably. I mean, they could surf fish. This is going to be a group of people going down as, like, a guided trip, essentially. But more than likely, they're going to be on boats. Probably pangas or whatever they called or something. Do we still have that, our Baja resident in here? I forgot the pangalas, I think they're called, those like wooden boats they have down in South America or Central America that they use out in the ocean and stuff. Those things are pretty hardcore for what they are compared to like what people use out here to go out in the ocean. And one hell of a boat. I know there's one guy up here who's got one. He tuna fishes with it. He like special ordered it. Oh yeah, that'd be a fun experience for sure. Doing it from the beach would be awesome too, but I'm telling you right now, doing it from the beach is probably 10 times as hard with a fly rod than catching them from a boat. Because even chasing rooster fish up and down a beach with a quad or something is hard enough, right? Let me just put this stuff away because I have a lot of this stuff here. Chasing them with a quad up and down the beach is probably one thing, but doing it, you know, what do you call it? With a fly rod is probably like 15 times as hard, I'm assuming, just as everything is when it comes to these sort of extreme fishing. Pangas on the surf. We use bigger flies. Pangas on the surf. Yeah, we use bigger flies. Gotcha, yeah. Yeah, those boats are cool. All right, let's glue some eyes on here, and then we're going to wrap it up. Got a good 2.5 hours in. Not too shabby. I didn't get burnt out right away. 5/16. What do these look like? Oh, God, these eyes are terrible. I mean, they're not bad, but they're not the 3D. They're hologram eyes. You're so right. I never noticed the difference between hologram eyes and 3D eyes. I just assumed they were 3D eyes, but they're technically not 3D eyes, so I can't be that pissed off. You know what I mean? Like, these eyes suck. They are technically different. I never realized. So we have predator eyes. I mean, I really just have holograms, or these guys. What happened, did I put those back? What happened to the ones that we... Oh, here we go. I think these are a little larger. Just go ahead and use this. I like this. Oh, and I'm going to get the vacuum after this, and I'm going to vacuum my room. because it's a mess. So what size are these? These are 1/4 inch. 3D holographic. My man hairline. Look at that coming through. They give you not one, they give you two. Not like Waspy over here, just giving me hologram eyes. Come on. You guys can't give me hologram and 3D? You got to jip me? My man, my man hairline. Let's go. Can't fault him. 500 for €2. 3mm to 10. You got some from China. Hey, you know what? I mean, I'm assuming these probably aren't made in the Oh, they are made in the U.S. I should shut up. Now, what are they technically? Are they made in the U.S. or are they just sold in the U.S.? Hey, put up a shove. I got, we're rock flag and eagle. But yeah, you can also probably just get a bunch of cheap ones off China that are probably, decent or work fine. I guess these are made in the USA. I should shut up. Shut the hell up, brother. Bad mouthing my hairline. Now that Waspy, though. Let's take a look. Did they even tell us? Definitely toxic. Made in the USA. Okay. Ain't 3D, though. Ain't 3D. There's nothing wrong. There's these Waspy stuff. They're perfectly fine. I'm just a jerk off. I don't have a filter when it comes to fly tying materials a lot of times because I tie for a living. So with commercial stuff, so if things give me an issue, it could literally take hours and hours out of my day because when you're tying 100 of a fly, if something takes an additional 30 seconds to do, that adds up. You know what I mean? So I like it when the material does what I want it to and doesn't work against me. You know what I mean? But I probably shouldn't be crap talking certain stuff too much. Like it was a command. That's right. Well, you're on Twitch, Camel Eggs. If the first thing you don't hear is jerk off, then and of course we're talking about the traditional jerk bait technique, but you just came in at the wrong time. How you doing, Camel Eggs? We're actually wrapping things up here soon, but I hope everything's been going good. We're streaming every Friday. I've been trying to stream. Usually it's after the video goes up. I got started a little. I released our YouTube video a little earlier today, and got started a little earlier. But it's usually either 5 or 6 I get started. But every Friday we're streaming. So if you guys are interested, we got a little schedule going again. So now after putting the eyes on here, I do like to touch it up ever so slightly because you will just get a little inconsistencies. But there you go. So I think this is what I need to do with the 4 or just the 2 odds in general, whatever. You can see we probably have not even that much. It's probably 1/4 of an inch top and bottom, but it's enough to give us that larger profile that I think that they're looking for with these sardinas. I probably would just fish it like this because it's just how I tie them, but and I'll have to, I could always test this in the swim tank, make sure it's swimming fairly decent, but it'll be fine, especially these hooks are quite large enough. I'm going to be tying them on the SO12S, which is a heavier hook than these Mustad C70 SAPs, so. Work short snow job for 30 an hour and 28 hours in 2 days. Oh, man. Yeah, you'll see the business of, if you can get yourself a snow plow and you live in a town where when it snows, they pay locals with snow plows to plow places. They do that here. People will not sleep for 2 days and they'll make $2,000. I don't do that. I don't have a truck for it. But if your municipality does that or something like that, you get yourself a truck and a plow, an old a Dodge diesel or something, and go make some money. That's a huge thing people do out here. It hasn't been snowing as much in years past because just how weather's been changing over the years, but back in the day, I know guys that would be working, mechanics, and they would stay up all night, snowplow, make $1,000 or $2,000, you know what I mean? in like just a couple hours, but they would just go to parking lot to parking lot to parking lot to parking lot and plow. Constantly breaking stuff all the time, probably too, but you know. You just did it all by hand. Oh man, it's got to be nice to be young and have a good back. I just, what do you call it? I don't know if they still do that. They used to do that. I don't know if the town does that now. Maybe the town has more snow plows. I don't know if they still do that around here. I think some businesses do. I don't know if it's, you know, but you make $1,000 overnight. It's pretty good. But I just shoveled a little bit the other day and was breaking up ice in my driveway because somebody was coming and almost threw my back out. So enjoy it for sure. Take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. All right. I can't help myself. Look how it's a little uneven. We're just going to clean it up. And now I'm done. I'm leaving it. I'm done. Perfect. Perfect. I'm happy with it. I like the little pink down the cheek, too. A little blush on there. Right? Nothing wrong with that. Let me get a close-up for you guys. Yeah, I don't think they do that thing everywhere, but I remember it was a thing locally that some people were... And you probably got to know the right guy at the town hall, and they hook you up, you know, with the snowplow rig or so, the job. Helped a lot? Well, good. I'm glad, Paul. I'm glad it helped. I think in the description here there should be a link to the Discord. If any of you folks have Discord, feel free to join. You can share photos of flies. You can ask questions. We'd love to see photos of any fish you caught. You can get updates on the channel and stuff. But yeah, every Friday we're streaming after the video comes out on YouTube, generally either right after or a little bit after, giving people some time to watch it. If you haven't, go check out the new Bucktail Deceiver video in the stream. In fact, yeah, you could find it. I was going to leave you a link, but you know how to get there. And we'll be streaming again next Friday. I have so let's see, the articulated cinderworm video is up right now for members a couple days early, and the raised fly. That'll be going out Sunday, the articulated cinderworm. Monday is the raised fly. Then Wednesday will be a V-tide crab fly, and Friday will be a mushmouth. A larger mushmouth, like a 2-odd Gamakatsu, kind of like an adult spearing. So, and that'll be the month of February done. Next Friday is the last Friday of the month, so we are doing our giveaway on Twitch with the marble races. And maybe by then I can figure out what the deal is, and we can do a giveaway on YouTube. I don't know if maybe I'll do something. Now I already exported the video, but I guess I can export. I haven't uploaded it to YouTube yet, so I could always real quick say at the start or something, you know, just like, subscribe, and comment on the video, and then I'll have like a program pick a random user or something. So maybe we'll do that, but I need to figure out how I'm going to go about doing a YouTube giveaway, because it's easier in Twitch. You can like direct message people, so I can get like your shipping info and stuff. But adios, great stream. Hey, thanks for tuning in, Craggerroll. My head's starting to kill me a little bit. I've been talking for hours with all these lights in my face, so I'm gonna go hang out and eat some food. The company that hired me had us doing jobs from 5 towns surrounding the area. Hey, that's good, man. Make the money while you can, dude. Work for it. Hell yeah. Sound glad. Hopefully you're staying busy. Appreciate the stream as always. Hey, thank you, Doc. Appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching on YouTube and on Twitch. Santi, thank you for tuning in. Again, appreciate it. Or Santi. James, and obviously Jay. Keep slamming them cores, brother. Appreciate it. And Paul. St. Croix Kid. And then everybody watching on Twitch. Thank you so much, Brew, everybody. And we'll see you guys on Friday, all right? I'll, like I said, join the Discord, and I'll post links to the videos when they come out. So Sunday I'll post when the Cinderworm goes live. So, but again, appreciate it. You guys have an awesome night. I will see you, and enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you next Friday, all right? So, but check out the Discord, and we'll, you know, post some flies in there. I'll check them out. All right. Later, chat. Peace.